City of Stevens Point Common Council meeting, recorded January 17, 2022.
At 7 o'clock, we will call the regular Common Council meeting to order. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Christensen.
Here.
Shore.
Here.
Keemer.
Here.
Sarazua.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Slawinski.
Here.
Kneebone.
Here.
Leak.
Here.
Dalton. Here. Fischler's excused. Morrow.
Here. Okay, we do have a quorum, so we will continue. Please join me in our salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States of
of the
America,
States of America and to the republic,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
liberty and justice.
We do have a pretty short agenda tonight, so I will forego any remarks from the mayor. We did have, what item number is that? 4. Okay, so I need that. Item number 3 is persons who wish to address the mayor on a specific agenda item. Must register the request at this time. Those who wish to speak at a public hearing, and I don't believe we have any tonight, are not required to identify themselves until the public hearing is declared open by me. This is for item number 4. Okay, so seeing no one wishing to register to speak, I will move on to item number 4, which is a non-agenda item. If persons who wish to address the mayor and council for up to 3 minutes regarding a non-agenda item, we have Mr. Craig Tesh. Please.
My name is Craig Tesh. Live here in Stevens Point, live in Frontenac. I couldn't make the meeting last week, but when I saw it, it looked a little bit like, scene 1, take 2. Initially, this, of course, concerns the Business 51. First it was the 3-lane option, and you folks ignored the survey. But when you saw the response, maybe I should take this off. When you saw the response, you could have said something. You could have met with these folks. You could have quelled some of it right there. Could have talked to them a little bit. Maybe you consider something like I mentioned previously. Maybe running a 4-lane up to Madison, and then having the bike lanes, up to Michigan, and then having the bike lanes going off onto, off that in that direction. Have the 4-lane up here without bike lanes. Go up to Madison, and then from Madison up there, have your 3-lane with your verge, because a lot of people complained about not having enough boulevard over on the side. That type of situation. Just one idea. Instead, it seemed like everybody had their minds made up, and it just seemed like everybody was just talking about what the experts had to say, not really listening to the people that were here. This last month that I saw, I couldn't make it, a personal situation with my wife, but it was the same business people talking in response to the referendum. Personally, I think it was a good idea. Alder Slawinski even brought it up, one of your own. But what happened is that what you could have done is you could have accepted that. You could have set up a more workable type of threshold for this thing. Instead of that, now you've got what you have. And, so they've started their own. You could still reverse this. If you just would sit down with these people, get some people, their representative, sit down with them and go over this, listen to their ideas, I think you could come out a lot better. And instead of that, instead of just, just staying where you are, you think above the fray on your high horse and not really listening to these people the way you should. Otherwise, as I said, if you don't do that, it's just going to be You're just going to continue to reap what you're sowing right now. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Craig. Good timing, too. I couldn't agree more. Next up, Alder Mary Kneebone. What's in February?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I would like to let everyone out there know that February is Heart Month, and have everyone pay attention to the Facebook page and the YouTube channel of our own Stevens Point Fire Department. They'll be having heart healthy recipes, exercise tips, demonstrations of CPR and AED, and they will also feature a video starring several of your very favorite alders, several of whom had a far more strenuous role than they anticipated, and I particularly want to thank them, and you'll have to watch the video to find out who they are. So be aware, February is Heart Month, and our own, and the look for the red heart at the fire department. Unfortunately, if one of the light bulbs changes color, that means that there was a cardiac event. So follow the tips that you see and be aware and save some lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Police and Fire Liaison Kneebone. And Alder Johnson.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Tesh, the last time you were here with your wife, she looked quite frail, so I'm hoping, you said there was another event. I'm hoping she's doing well. I sincerely say that, so please, you're very welcome. I'm going to read a statement. The alders already received that. Thank you, Clerk Yenter, for sharing it. And I had asked that it be posted on the city's website as well. This is my statement as president of the Council on Business 51 and the referendum. The mayor posted a statement on Business 51 and the referendum effort on the city's website on January 11th that raises more questions than answers. Many of the questions are matters of process, particularly how do we go forward considering the decisions that have already been made. In his statement, the mayor asked Common Council to support a new consensus building plan for Business 51. Given how regularly the council meets, once a month, obviously, unless we have specials, and the legal open meeting requirements we work under, website statements are not the normal channel for the council to receive and review proposals. Now, 4 months later, after the council approved the Business 51 plan presented to us by the WESA administration and the fine folks who work for him, what is the process here? Opponents of the plan, of course, are collecting signatures for a referendum that isn't focused on Business 51, but instead requires that more referendums be held every time the city has a street construction project costing $1 million. I know that seems like a lot of money, and it is. However, it costs us that much money to do a side street, 4 or 5 blocks. It can cost that much in all of our districts. So how would this work? It is critical that we take a close look at the consequences of the referendum if it were to pass. And again, kudos to those who are gathering signatures. No one loves democracy more than I do, so that's their right. And there is another vital question on Business 51 itself. There are rumors saying that the city has already made a grant application to fund Business 51, which would require matching city taxpayer dollars. Typically, these types of funding proposals are supposed to be reviewed and approved by the council. What are the implications of a proposal already submitted, and what are our options? Moving forward, I would like to suggest that we look for solutions rather than blame. I attended a day-long training with my employer, and it was about leadership and taking responsibility and trying to find solutions, and it was very inspiring. And many of the words are still ringing with me, that blame is not the way to go. And the first solution I would like to put forward is one that I offered several months ago. Even though reconstruction of Church Street is years away, let's utilize existing resources to do what we can meanwhile for the Business 51 corridor. The council, along with city administration, our team here, Need to immediately invest in the economic development work for Church Street by building a targeted area master plan for TIF 12, which is, excuse me, Steel King, Minnesota, Metal Crafters, that area, and then, of course, Church Street. As we did for the North Division Street in downtown, the North Division Street Master Plan established the vision for the revitalization of that entire corridor we are witnessing today, and it took this entire team to make that happen. Let's build a better tomorrow. Let's build capacity in our entire community. Let's move forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the time. I appreciate the extra time.
Thank you. Next up, our speaker list is exhausted, so we'll move to item number 5, which is the consent agenda.
Motion.
Motion by President Johnson to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Morrow. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Slawinski.
Aye.
Nebone.
Aye.
Leek.
Aye.
Dalton. Aye. Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 6 is on page 32, and that's a resolution, for World Migratory Bird Day. This comes as a reaffirmation of our commitment, but it's also part of the Bird City USA application, which we've had for a number of years. Dr. Kent Hall was primarily responsible for getting us involved in the project. He has since handed it off to 3 other people now, 3 people doing the work of 1. But we're looking for approval of this resolution.
And
Alder Shore moves.
second in
Seconded
honor of
by
Kent
John.
Hall.
Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Dalton. Aye. Leek.
Aye.
Nebone.
Aye.
Slawinski.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Keemer. Aye. Shore.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 7 is on page 34 of your packet, and that is a proposal for a relocation incentive for Edgewater Manor residents. As you know, we're down to about 12 residents there. We still have our housing coordinator on staff. And because of there being only 12 residents, but us having to maintain heat, cool, maintain the entire building, we are losing money. That money is intended to be used to help those people relocate and subsidize rents and things like that. So I asked Director Karnowski to look at this, and he put together a plan to help incentivize people to get done a little quicker so we can use that money for what it was intended for rather than paying public service or what have you. Director?
Yeah, so one of the major things that we found out was the individuals that remain just don't have the financial means to provide like a security deposit on a newer home or a newer apartment. And so in a way to encourage them to relocate and have the financial means to make those types of security deposits, the city's offering the financial incentives outlined within the memo on page 34 of your agenda packet. Comptroller Treasurer Laddick and I have gone through, and there's more than enough funding available within the existing Edgewater Fund to cover the between $9,000 and $24,000 in additional costs, depending on who takes up the city up on that. The only thing is that there's a few tenants remaining who are on housing vouchers. Because of their voucher status, they're not able to receive additional funding from the city of Stevens Point. So there are going to be a few folks that are disqualified from that, but we'll continue to work with the Portage County Housing Authority as able to find other alternatives. So we started just over a year ago with about 85 residents, and we're down to the remaining 12. So between the existing incentive programs the city council's authorized staff to execute, it's been a very successful transition, and we found housing for everybody who's already relocated. So it's been very successful, and as the drawdown nears this spring, we're hoping that by May 3rd, which is the official deadline to vacate the property, that we won't have any additional problems or tenants remaining.
Okay. I'd be looking for a motion.
I have a,
We'll go
I
to
have a
Alder
motion
Dalton.
and a
We need a motion first, I'm sorry.
I would
Move
like to make
approval
a,
of the proposal.
Thank you.
You're fighting.
Do we want a second? Seconded by Short. Now we can discuss, because I believe there's room for some changes here.
okay,
Alder Morrow, go ahead.
thank you very much. Ryan, is it true that they still have the social worker there that's trying to help the remaining residents move out?
Correct, yeah. Michelle Helmick, who's our hired social worker, works between 20 and 30 hours a week.
Okay.
has been going door to door and having
the only
those
thing that Director
conversations.
Knosky and I discussed today was the timing. So, for example, if you look at the last piece of incentive, it's August 30th, which is really only 3 days before the deadline anyway.
April 3rd.
I'm sorry, yep, sorry.
Yep. You want to push that up a bit? you're saying?
I thought maybe if we moved it to April 15th, that might provide more of an incentive, because the goal is to have money left to give to the residents to help them, rather than, spending it on maintenance and such. But, just a suggestion. Alder Zarazua?
Is there an approximation of how much we're spending per month to keep the building going?
There is, you can ask.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's where we started, so,
Yeah.
while you think about that, because you might remember the number, that's how we started. We realized how much money we have to spend every month for overhead. And I said, well, divide that by 12, and that's our break-even point, so we could give that money to them
Okay.
if we did that. Now, Corey, I'm sure has the numbers off the top of his head, but I don't know that he's here tonight.
He's online,
Yeah,
but I
it's
don't
on-
know
he is
how
online.
he's
Yeah.
Corey,
recovering.
do you have that number handy?
So I don't have the specific number as far as what it's been the past couple of months, simply because as the building has been vacant, it has been emptying a little bit. You have those bills changing as well as far as going down. So I don't have real specifics, but I can tell you that when Edgewater was open at full capacity, I believe you'd be looking at expenses of around $20,000 a month, just based on the annual budget. Now, I would assume that with fewer people there, it should be a little bit less than that right now.
And you have, utilities and maintenance and management, those are the keys, plus Michelle's salary as well. President Johnson?
Thank you. So, and this is a direct payment to the residents, or would this be a direct payment, partial direct payment to the residents, and then provide the security deposit or whatever to an appropriate party? I mean, could we do that too, and maybe even up the incentive? The reason is, it's like, I don't want them to get the money and then, not utilize it in an appropriate way, and then we find ourselves in a situation on May 1st, if you get my drift.
Yeah, the current proposal would be just a direct payment to the residents.
Okay.
You could have that requirement that it would go to as the security deposit for the next landlord, as an example. But you might run into instances where we have a few folks in there that don't have an interest in relocating as quickly, even though they may have the financial means. So this
Oh, I
may
see.
light the fire, per se, to get them to consider
it.
relocating sooner.
The other thing I want to stress is that in no way, shape, or form would we ever do anything to jeopardize someone's,
Right.
we'll call it the benefit status. So Ryan talked about that earlier with vouchers and things like that. Whatever program we choose, whatever way we can incentivize, that wouldn't affect that is the way we're going. So they may not all be direct payments.
So, I was going to say,
For those that, there's 12 left, so for those that don't have the financial means for the security deposit, are those also the housing vouchers, like what kind of proportion? Because I guess this is an incentive if they relocate, but if they're having trouble paying for the security deposit, the money after the fact is probably not going to solve that issue.
Yeah, so one of the challenges is that we don't have a lot of the income information for the tenants there. We have generalizations, but this is what the existing tenants have been telling Michelle as part of the relocation efforts.
Anything else?
yeah, it was sort of a follow-up on that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just want to make sure I understand. I support this. I think it's a great idea. And certainly don't want to jeopardize their benefit status. So if it comes to that, we would go, rather than giving you cash, we're going to secure a place for you to live.
That may be an option.
Okay,
Right, if we're able to do that, we'll definitely work through the voucher residents for that. The one major thing that we found as part of the relocation is that any type of city payment or incentive, no matter in what form, we were jeopardizing some of the vouchers. And so, what we had offered a number of the previous voucher tenants were the relocation services, because that was a service, it wasn't a direct payment. And so that went a long way, but we've got to just work through it a little bit more with the county housing authority to make sure that we wouldn't jeopardize or push anyone over the limit, per se.
Any other thoughts? How's everybody feeling about the dates and the dollar amounts?
Good?
Okay?
I think the dollar amounts are pretty appropriate. I think I like I think it's a pretty creative problem solving. I also like the city being flexible as far as how we disperse it in order to optimize it for the residents, so.
Okay? President Johnson?
I tend to agree with you, and I know that's going to surprise people, but on the April 15th thing, because I think we want to have enough time to respond in case things go south. So I would support changing that last benchmark to an April 15th.
Is that a motion to amend?
It is a motion to amend.
Do we have a second? Seconded with Dalton. Discussion on the amendment only. Hearing and seeing none, we can do a voice vote on the amendment. All in favor of changing the April 30th date to April 15, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved. Now we are back to the original motion as amended. Any further discussion there? Tomorrow.
I just want to, I just want to make sure that I do understand this right, is that, that the city will use whatever incentive money they have to try to secure a down payment for like a room deposit, as opposed to just giving them a cash payment?
That is not correct. We are going to use the incentive as creatively as we can. Some it may just be a cash payment with the agreement. I mean, they're not going to see this until they have, I don't remember the dates, but let's say February 28th, you're out. Here's your incentive. And if we have to work creatively to maybe cover a security deposit with that, or I can't think of any options, but it will not always be,
It's whatever works best.
whatever works best for
Thank
those
you.
last 12 residents. And keep in mind, all of this is going to go through not only staff, but that housing person that's working there, Michelle.
So an example of, being creative could be tenant A needs to sign a lease and provide first and last month's rent. Let's say it's $600 for each of those, so it's a $1,200 deposit. But they don't have that necessarily financial in the bank right now. We could work directly with them. Okay, show us you've signed a lease. Okay, so they've got a lease that's signed, ready to go, work with the landlord, and then the city could cut the check directly or do a pass-through. So because there's just so few residents remaining, we can be a little bit more creative instead of trying to work through the same concept with 80 residents as opposed to just the 12 that remain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm hearing there's 12 residents left there. I don't know if they're holding out, if they're
It's a
just-
mix.
Do we have a plan, what happens May 1st and they're still there? I mean, I know this probably doesn't relate entirely.
We've
to
talked
the-
about it, but we're going to go with the positive.
Okay.
And
But there is some sort of, kind of keeping that
we've.
on the radar.
We've talked about it. We need to make sure that things are, that's why we set the firm date.
Having this incentive
Should help.
helps us prevent the May 3rd deadline from not being met by
I
a
would,
few
I would
tenants.
assume that Michelle, I mean, she's kind of got to have the feel with each resident, what their situation is.
She does.
Yeah.
Alder Zarzua.
I just wanted to say thank you to all the departments that worked on this, because obviously we know this has been an ongoing concern, and Edgewater has been a home for a lot of people with disabilities and elderly who, are struggling, and this was a huge deal from the beginning. So I'm glad that we're working to try to find as smooth of a way to help people move who have some additional barriers. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, if you are in favor of the motion as amended, you will vote yes. If you oppose, you will vote no, and the clerk will call the roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Hemer. Aye. Zarazua.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Slowinski.
Aye.
Nebone.
Aye.
Leak.
Aye.
Dalton. Aye. Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 8 is on page 35. That's a resolution, a request from Tim Anderson representing Century Insurance for a conditional use permit to construct 2 hospitality stations accessory to the golf course. Use at 601 Michigan Avenue North, with the parcel identified in your packet, consistent with Chapter 23.02, Sub 1, Sub A, Sub 3, Sub H. Alder Morrow moves.
This is in my area. Yes, I do believe I do
Thank you.
approve.
And Keemer seconds. Discussion.
This is going to be great.
That sums it up pretty dang well. Okay,
word for
clerk, please call the roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Dalton.
Aye.
Leek.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Slawinski.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Hemer. Aye. Shore.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
That is approved. Item number 9 is on page 36. It's a resolution, request from Shelley Handrick, representing Stratford Sign Company LLC, for a sign variance to construct a freestanding sign exceeding the total number of freestanding signs allowed on a property located at 3733 Stanley Street, consistent with our Chapter 23.14.
All tomorrow so moved.
Second.
Seconded by Johnson. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Hemer. Aye. Zarazua.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Slawinski.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Leek.
Aye.
Dalton. Aye. Morrow.
And that's approved. Item number 10 is on page 37. That's an ordinance amendment. A request from the City of Stevens Point to amend Chapter 23, the zoning ordinance of the revised municipal code of the City of Stevens Point. Said requests amend Chapter 23.02, Sub 4, Sub E, relating to wellhead protection overlay districts of the City of Stevens Point. Is Joel on?
Was.
Yeah, I thought.
I'm
so.
here.
There he is. Oh, yeah, you got the thing. Joel, you want to talk about this at all, since you are our duly appointed representative?
I certainly can. I think I'll just start with something relatively simple to summarize. There's been a lot of work put into this. On the county side, there was better than 3 years worth of meetings. On the city side, we've been talking about it for a few months now. In a large way, this goes to update an ordinance that's, pushing 30 years old on the city's books, but has been a really effective and well thought out ordinance. So it brings in just some modernization to that. One of those modernizations is actually just straight out using the map instead of legal descriptions for boundaries. We've modified Zone A and B a little bit and added Zone C to this. We didn't have a Zone C previous. It only existed in the county ordinance. A few definition changes, things like that. But though the wording's a little different and everything, same look and feel in large part. And it mimics very closely what the county just recently adopted on the heels of a lot of effort on the part of different committees and staff and groups.
Thank you, Director. Alder Keemer.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I have second.
Seconded by Christensen. Discussion.
Okay.
President Johnson.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, and thank you, Director, for the information. There was a lot of work, and now I'm speaking from the county board side, put into this. I think, I look forward to future revisions that are far more protective. I think we inched our way along on this, even though it took a couple of years. I truly do hope we move along with a greater opportunity for wellhead protection and groundwater protection. This is an inch towards it, but not perfect. But I still appreciate the work that Director Lemke has put into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or anything else? Alder Christensen.
I had a chance to attend the county board meeting when they were considering this at the very end. And I guess I would echo our council president's thoughts. It kind of, they described it as the protection of whether you want to put on a glove or a mitten. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a pretty accurate description. And there's gaps in between that aren't being covered at this point that still have the potential of infiltrating. And so that is something they're still taking a look at. They've put in a lot of good work and a lot of thought. And then this is, I think, a really positive step in the right direction. I think there are still some progress that can be made, but I do see this as a very positive step forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, if you're in favor of the motion, you'll vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no, and the clerk will call the roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Oh,
Dalton.
hold on,
Oh, I didn't see a hand.
Mayor, sorry, I had a comment, and I think Alder Leek also wanted to make a comment.
Oh, sure, sure. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't see a hand up.
No,
My fault.
that's okay. Basically, what the other alders have said, I had a lot of concerns that this doesn't go nearly far enough to protect some of our real critical and unique habitats. And I want to thank both Director Konoski and Director Lemke for probably about an hour-long phone call we had. So I am supportive, but I think we need to have more discussions going into the future to get some tighter protections, as tight a group of protections as we can. So thank you.
Thank you. Alder Leek.
Unmute. There we go. Hey, yeah, I'm sorry. I had just one brief question, because when I was looking at the map of the overlay district A, and I hope this isn't a naive question, I noticed that gas stations are prohibited, but there are already gas stations there, if I'm not mistaken, judging by the map.
Director Lemke?
Sure. Depending on what zone you're talking about, that is definitely correct. Some gas stations precede the ordinance, and some were put in under conditional use, where some really extreme engineering is used to basically engineer away the problem. Things like triple-walled tanks with interstitial monitoring, audible and reportable alarms, quarterly monitoring, some real extreme things where we get reported on them very regularly. So both can be true.
Understood. Thank you.
And if I could just add one other thing, the glove versus mitten comment, that is a good way to put it. I hadn't heard it, so I missed that meeting, but we did adopt the map, or are about to adopt the map that is more of the mitten than the county did. So the county adopted the more glove-looking protection zones, and we have one that's rounded off to account for areas that are likely to be future well siting, so it's more protective. So I do appreciate that, and welcome future conversations about what else we can do.
Perfect. Thank you, Director.
I will just add a few more items to this too. So the city does have extraterritorial zoning review, and we've used groundwater protection as justification for some pretty serious conversations in the past. Some of you folks on the council might recall, with subdivisions and conditional uses in areas outside of our jurisdiction. And then we do have, of course, the conditional use standards that are already existing within Chapter 23 are things that we take into serious consideration. And I know there's been a lot of discussion on changes to conditional use law and whether or not cities still have the same authority, but it's pretty hard to say that concerns over groundwater protection are subjective. They are definitely objective in nature, and I would be more than happy to go to court over an argument about a conditional use permit that could threaten the city's groundwater to some 50,000 residents that utilize our system on a daily basis. So,
Absolutely, Director, and you can attest to the rest of the staff having the same sentiment. We don't get a second chance with our water, ground or surface. So I'm glad everybody takes it as seriously as the city of Stevens Point does. All right, if you are in favor, you'll vote yes. If you are opposed, you'll vote no, and clerk will call the roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Dalton.
Aye.
Leek.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Slawinski.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Keimer. Aye. Shore.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 11 is on page 60. That's an ordinance amendment, chapter 15.03. Polling places, always a challenge. Clerk Yenter, anything to add?
This is just cleanup from District 11. We can no longer use the Visitor and Convention Bureau. We temporarily changed it to the rec center. So once we find a permanent location, we'll be changing it once again.
Thank you. Need a motion? Moved by Shore, seconded by Johnson. Discussion. Alder Shore.
Of course, I noticed the use of the rec center. I think I understand why it's an open question and continues to be, because this is way south for my colleague Alder Morrow's district to the north. It sits quite far south. Nothing more than that, unless you want to say more about the search for options.
Thank you. No, and Clerk Yenter is always looking. Things are changing. We're not required to have a polling place in every district, but we want to. And we're doing our best. Clerk's office is constantly working. I made a few phone calls to no avail. The Visitors and Convention Center is, of course, downtown now, owned by Century, which is the headquarters now for the 2023 USGA Men's Senior Open, and not really accessible to the public. So we're going to continue to work on that and hopefully have some changes for you in the future. We have a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
Any additional discussion? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Keimer.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Slawinski.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Leek.
Aye.
Dalton.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And that's approved. Item number 12 is on page 61, and that is an ordinance amendment for Chapter 3.46, Sub 4, the Canvassing Board. Another Clerk Yenter, we're not sending people out looking for paintings, right?
No, this was some language conflicting with state statute. Our city ordinance said they will be appointed January 1 of odd-numbered years. However, in the state statute, it's January 1 of even years. So we just want to change our ordinance to coincide with this state statute.
There you go. Moved by Slawinski, seconded by Zarazua. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Dalton.
Aye.
Leek.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Slawinski.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Keimer.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Our agenda is exhausted, and we are adjourned at 7:36. In the immortal words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.